Hi, everyone. Welcome to the contributor meeting. I'm going to be your host today. I'm Leo, and starting off with triage and discussion as usual. We had Alex and Remington for reviewers for the previous week. Is anybody of you present today? I don't see Alex, either Remington. So I'm assuming if they're not joining, there's something like crucial. Is anybody having any somebody who was looking at the tickets this week had anything to mention? If not, we're just going to move forward with electing the next person for next week. Okay, so moving forward, so I can elect myself as primary for next week. So this is for triage of Argo CD issues. Is anybody able to be secondary for next week? If not, I'm just going to go in order. So we had Remington last week, Christian Hernandez. Are you on this call? I don't see you. No volunteers for secondary? You guys are so quiet today. Can you be my secondary next week, Michael?
Can we be the order, right? Which are available for Jonathan?
Sorry, Hari?
In the order, right? If Christian is not there, is Jonathan or Ishita, anyone is there?
Yeah, I'm looking for people in the call. Ishita, can you be secondary next week?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so let's move with discussion topics, and we have 3 topics for today. Matt Groot, sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly, Matt, but you have a topic you wanted to present. You want to take it from here?
Sure. Yeah. This is the first time I've contributed anything or attempted to contribute anything to the Argo project. But we've been working on a PR to implement like a progressive rollout feature for the application set controller. And this is basically to address like being able to control how applications are updated in order. Sorry, what was that?
Probably someone was unmuted.
Okay. Gotcha.
Sorry about that.
Cool. Yeah, I was hoping to get like some kind of feedback, I guess, like while we were working on this, but we're now mostly done with it and have yet to receive any feedback on it. So I guess I'm asking what are the appropriate next steps?
Yeah, I looked at your proposal this morning. Is this the one, right?
Yes.
Set progressive rollout strategy. So the idea is to, well, first of all, do you want to say a few words about the proposal, just for people to be aware?
Yeah.
Context.
I can definitely do that.
Just briefly.
Yeah. So I guess it's easiest to talk about the example spec that's further down. But yeah, basically the goal is for us to be able to have some kind of declarative syntax for structuring what applications are going to roll out in what order, effectively like just like it's like some kind of loose dependency tree. And so what we're proposing is using label selectors on the applications themselves and using these match expressions listed in a list of steps to list or to select a certain number of applications for the first step, a certain number of applications for the second step, and so on. And this would effectively block anything that's in the first step needs to complete, or like its application needs to sync and be healthy before the second step's applications would begin progressing. Or it would, yeah, the application controller effectively just blocks updates to the applications that are in that second bucket, for example, until the first is complete. So it also has a support for like an extra max update parameter that can be provided to limit the number of applications in the current step group that can update simultaneously. So if it's set to 1, each application would be updated 1 by 1.
Okay, so from this proposal, the entire rolling update section is a new
yes,
section
the
in
entire
the
strategy section in itself. So
the strategy. Okay.
Mhm.
I see. Okay, I was discussing with Michael a little bit about this, and he also mentioned about there was a previous idea of having DAG implemented as part of application set. Isn't it this sort of implementing that as well?
I would say it's not implementing a DAG. It's definitely dumber than a DAG. So
Okay,
yeah.
So it's happening in this order.
Yes, it's a topological graph, I guess you could say.
Good. Right. So
I have a
the
question about the
yeah, go ahead.
the implications of so it's similar to how a deployment needs to update pods, but deployments benefit from an intermediate object, the replica set, to basically upgrade the thing. I'm wondering the lack of that in the application set producing applications. Have you thought about what we might be losing out on the from some intermediate object?
Yeah, I've thought about that a bit. And I think the thing that I considered was number one, the spec is still defined on the deployment resource. So like the update strategy and all that is still there in the deployment resource. Effectively, the replica set controller is kind of an implementation detail that the user often doesn't interface with. And so I would say that like there's nothing stopping us from inserting like an intermediate controller using the same spec later if desired. And the other thing I forgot, but that was my primer. Oh, the other thing is that the control for this kind of a rollout is also simpler than that of a deployment or pod replica. So for example, we don't have like health checks defined or like readiness probes and all those other things that I think that the replication set controller is somewhat responsible for. So, and that's simply because we can rely on those details being implemented at the deployment layer. So like we can use home hooks, we can use readiness probes and all those things that are encompassed by the health of the application resource itself. So.
I see. One of the biggest challenges we had with rollouts and updating was interrupted updates. So basically you change the spec of the rollout, or in this case, the application set. It starts the update, and then it hasn't yet completed the update, and then you like change the spec again. So now you have kind of like a midway where half of the things are updated. You need to reset and start over from the beginning. That's actually one of the benefits of having this intermediate object of the replica set, because you actually deployment creates a new replica set. Here, the absence of that intermediate object requires a lot more bookkeeping. How does it work today?
So the way it handles that case today, so if you have like 3 applications. The first 2 out of 3 have been rolled out, and all 3 are supposed to be changed, and you push another change, it's going to start over, start rolling changes to the first, second, and third again, assuming all 3 are dependent on each other. Then the third one is going to jump straight from revision 1 to revision 3 and skipping revision 2 in that situation, because it is simply trying to get to the intended end state that's defined in the application set specification. And I think that behavior makes sense to me, but I'm definitely open to hear kind of alternative
Oh no,
opinions.
yeah, I agree with the correct behavior, but
Oh, how does it do it?
how is it
Yeah.
achieved?
It's tracking the generation of the application set, and then it is tracking the observed generation of the application resources in a state field on the application set resource itself.
I see. Okay. So
Actually, if you look at the
you
PR,
rely on
yeah.
the generation of the application resource as a indication, or
Actually, no. Can you open the PR itself? I actually have an example pasted there in the description in the conversation. So we scroll down. So this right here is an example of how the state or how the status field of the application set itself changes as the resource, as each application is updated.
yeah.
And so effectively we're tracking the observed generation, and that is that observed generation actually has nothing to do with what the actual application resource itself looks like. All that state is tracked on the application set controller side, because I didn't want to like balloon this into making a bunch of changes to the application resource itself.
Yeah, the observed generation that we see recorded here, is that metadata generation of the application?
It's the application sets generation. So effectively, it's
okay.
Yeah, it's saying that this application resource was generated using this version of the application set.
Got it. Is that recorded as an annotation in the
It could be
somehow?
but it could be recorded as an annotation in the application itself. Yeah, that would be very easy to do, but it is currently not.
Oh, if not, then like how does it even work?
It's tracking the state inside the status field of the application set. So we don't care about the application resources themselves. We're just controlling whether or not we update the. We care about them in terms of if they're healthy or not.
Okay.
And if they've been updated. So we have to watch them to see if they've gone through a progressing state and actually applied resources to know if they've become healthy. But we basically set them to say like, okay, they're on the new generation now. We're going to assume that they've been applied, and then we're going to watch to see if they start progressing. And then assuming they do, now everything's good and up to date.
Mm-hmm.
This is like one of the coolest proposal PRs I've seen in a while. I mean, it's a really great idea. I really, really like it. I know that's not the purpose of the discussion, but it's really interesting. So and there would be right now in the PR that you did your draft in. There's not any modifications to the CLI, but presumably we would add a feature to the CLI so you could check on the application set rollouts and push them and that kind of stuff.
It wouldn't be, sorry, what's the feature that you would want in CLI?
Well, I'm thinking that often people will want to have like a pause step where they go and look manually and then they manually say, okay, roll out.
Yes, I hear what you're saying now. Yeah, that was intentionally like scoped out of V1, but that's a thing we could do.
Yeah, slick.
Yeah, so for me, I think I do agree with the use case rolling out, but I think having experience with rollouts, it kind of scares me, the amount of
complexity that could be there. Yeah,
exactly. I'm curious what Jonathan, is Jonathan here? What he might think of the feature because he worked mostly with the app set. If
I'm also happy to open up a thread on like the contributor channel, and we can just like deep dive into this if you like.
oh, Jonathan, do you have any
Yeah,
thoughts?
yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm a bit out of touch when it comes to what's up to date and the new hotness in what's happening in with application set controllers. So yeah, I would probably defer to other folks. But yeah, mostly it's a matter of whether or not the workflow that the feature prescribes is one that other folks, like other organizations, other projects would find beneficial. And yeah, hopefully they can comment on that.
I definitely know that I've heard from several organizations who want to do stuff like this, and right now they basically combine in other tools to achieve this. So like Rancher Fleet plus Argo CD to kind of manage the configuration of many instances of Argo CD. But being able to do it with an application set, I feel like would give you a lot more flexibility and make it easier to centrally manage and make each individual Argo CD instance more powerful.
Yep, makes sense.
Can you scroll up to the steps again? Okay. I was just seeing.
So this is the steps from this discussion. There are steps also in the proposal. Is that the one you wanted to see?
Yeah, no, this is what I was looking for.
Okay.
How are you tracking like what step you're on?
It doesn't. It's basically idempotent and determines whether or not we should be progressing the current step based on the evaluation of the previous step.
Oh,
So,
okay. So you can determine that based on generation number alone.
Exactly. Yeah, we
Okay.
look to see if the generation's out of date. Yeah, there's a bunch of conditions that are like, if this is met, we can progress this current application from its current state to the next.
Mhm.
There any thought into like flapping health conditions, like delays between checking of whether or not to move on to the next step?
Flapping health condition. Would you mean like flapping in like the application?
Like, let's say you
itself?
went healthy real quick and then went unhealthy like 3 seconds
Yeah.
later within the application. Like, is there any
That
you run into
can,
that or?
you can definitely run into that. The other thing to note is that this is it's basically polling the current health of the application whenever the app set reconciler loop runs. That's when it checks the health of the applications. So you may or may not hit that case depending on if it flaps between loops or not. So improvements to this would definitely be like implementing some kind of watch system to know like when an application updated, and also potentially adding in some kind of guard around that. Although honestly, I would say that's a problem on your application itself. Like if your application's flapping, then the better place to deal with it might be at the application.
What does the max update represent? Is it like a kind of like a mini max surge, but within the step?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
It is the maximum. If it's set to 0, then we don't care. Everything can be updated at the same time. But if it's set to 1 or 2, then it's going to limit the number of updates to 1 or 2. Yeah, so effectively you could have a match expression on your entire application, all the applications generated, and then just add a max update of 1, and then that allows you to just enforce that 1 by 1 happens for all applications owned by the resource.
So my question is this proposal also dealing with exceptional scenarios, things like timeouts or something goes wrong with one specific step, and how to deal with the errors?
It does not. It will wait forever. If you're if one of your applications gets blocked, right now it just waits.
I see.
And that was the behavior that we thought worked for us, because like in this situation, we want to go investigate why that application is hanging rather than timing out and continuing or something like that.
But does this generate any sort of contention inside the controller, or the controller is free to?
No, the controller keeps running. It basically evaluates and says it's not ready yet, so we're gonna pass on and let the next loop catch it.
Can I see the improvements you made to the status that facilitate this? Aside from the generation bookkeeping, like what about the aggregated status of, like, how doesn't one understand like the aggregate status of a application set?
So when you talk about the aggregate status, I guess what do you mean?
So an application
Oh.
set now.
Yeah. So you're basically
has a-
saying that the application set, while one of these rollouts is happening, is effectively like in a progressing state itself. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. That's not tracked at all. You'd have to infer that by looking at the each of the application status fields at right now. So, but that wouldn't be terribly difficult to do. Well, it'd be a little annoying, but it could be done. You'd
Yeah,
have to
I
basically like
imagine
walk
the
the
next.
full list of application statuses and look for ones that are not healthy, basically, and then that
Right.
would mean, yeah.
Yeah, because I imagine now that we have state, essentially, we're introducing essentially state into
Yes.
the application set. So application set suddenly is either in the middle of an update, so it can be, I guess you can consider it progressing.
Yep.
Typically, you will need to introduce conditions to represent, like.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I could update some of the condition fields.
So in general, I think I like the idea. I'm again, my main concern is the what we're scoping in what we did previously. And I agree with the use case. So my feeling is I think it's a good direction. We just should tread carefully with and maybe flag this behind some future flag until it. I mean, not just basically indicate the beta quality or something until like it's been proven out.
Until it bakes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Shopik here, I do like what this does as well. I just read through the proposal while you folks were talking. I think you and I have heard about this use case a few times.
Yeah.
So this definitely is something that's solving a problem about being able to specify the order in which we roll things out. So this does look good. The only thing in my mind is that it took me about 5 minutes to confirm this has nothing to do with Argo City rollouts, but does it?
That's correct. The only thing that the only way it intersects with rollouts is if you're using a rollout as part of the applications that are managed by this application set, the rollout itself is going to cause the application to be in a progressing state until the rollout's complete, right?
Right.
And so effectively the application controller rollout here would wait on that application until it proceeds to the next. If your Argo rollout is still progressing.
Yeah.
So
right.
yeah, names are subject to change. I'm not particularly attached, but people have better ideas or something like that to prevent confusion. So.
Sure. Do you want to add that level of detail into the proposal as well? How this plays with Argo City rollouts?
Sure.
Somebody going to this proposal would have the same question.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, but I think if we start down this thing, it's gonna get more requests. Like Dan mentioned, the pause thing. That's absolutely going to be the next request. That like, oh, I'd like environment A, B, C to go automatically, but then
and then wait before prod or whatever.
Yeah, someone says like, oh, but prod needs like a little extra approval step. Yeah, so.
Yeah, one thing that you can do
notoriously hard in rollouts to implement.
True. Yeah, I guess like this allows you to leverage all the features of rollouts also. So if you wanted to have like the pause step and a prod rollout, then that would be possible. However, for things that you can't use an Argo rollout for, so if we're running like daemon sets using this, then yeah, exactly. It's still an issue.
Is there would there be an advantage to having this more tightly integrated into Argo rollouts so that you could take advantage of like all of the health check templates that maybe you already have existing? I guess it's a different thing because you don't have to check about, because you could presumably just have rollouts on each object, which would then take care of it at this level. But I don't
So
know if
Ours,
that's thought about.
the thought that
I
we've
was gonna
had,
say,
or go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say that this is it's a kind of example of the scope creep
The
that
scope
could
creep. Yeah.
potentially happen with a feature like this inside the app spec, application set spec. So for example, analysis templates could be a step. In fact, if with rollouts, we have steps, right? And then one of the steps can be like, okay, before I increase traffic weight, run this analysis template and make sure it passes. So I imagine someone's like, oh, can we run kickoff analysis as part of update? So my step number 3 would be run a job or run a template, and then that must pass before I go to the next one. So like those are all things like I wish we can do with applications today. Like I do, there's people want to
I think you can with this exactly as it is. The way that we're planning to do it is basically, so for example, like the use case, or one of the use cases we're talking about is rolling out cluster updates using cluster API.
Yeah.
And so we have like an application set that manages a bunch of clusters, and we want to be able to push like a Kubernetes upgrade, and then also verify that pods are still able to start up correctly in that cluster after the upgrade. What we're planning to do is in the Helm chart that we have that's putting all the CAPI resources together, we're planning to add a Helm hook to it that will basically like verify, that'll do like that small smoke test,
okay.
verifying that a pod will come up successfully in the given cluster. So that's,
So
I think, one way to solve
use
the
like
problem.
an application as a proxy for performing, I guess, smoke tests, or
Mhm.
and
We can put a
in
hook
the
in the Helm
same
chart.
regard,
Yeah.
you could also do what I'm suggesting is run an analysis run as a part of application. So this thing only deals with applications at the end of the day. It doesn't know, but if you wanted that use case, you can work around it, I guess, with an application creating other resources. I actually think that's the right.
Yeah, we are very pro keeping this not complicated.
Okay, I agree. No, yeah, I think that will help keep it scoped down. Yeah, I didn't think about that. I think it's a good pattern, I guess.
Yeah, the idea there basically being like having a wave that basically could be an application that runs a deployment that runs like hits the endpoints of the previous wave and checks its health, changes its health status, whether or not that failed to continue. Is that kind of what was described?
No, we're what I'm basically saying is that so if we're looking at like one of these match expressions here, like on like the dev environment, that application that is tied with that has that dev label on it has an associated Helm chart that's being applied by the application resource. And that Helm chart provides the ability to use like Helm hooks that Argo City already supports, for example. So you can do like a pre-upgrade hook or a post-upgrade hook, and you can have whatever logic you want inside those hooks.
Sure, I was thinking from the non-Helm side. If you weren't using Helm, you'd have to do something different.
Yep.
But that's, yeah, okay. That's fair.
Okay, I think it might be worth calling out the out of scope stuff. Like this will basically only ever deal with application.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But in general, I think I feel good and a lot better about this. Yeah, great work.
Thank you. Thanks for the feedback also.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Okay, so moving forward with the next topic for today's agenda, we have Sumaya. Are you in the call? Yes, I see you there.
Hi. So this is a front-end topic, and it's something that we've not been having SIG meetings. I just put it here. was just looking for a few reviews and if it could possibly be able to merge this one. It's for adding dark mode to our existing UI.
Cool. And then we have two PRs open, one for Argo UI and another one for Argo CD. And you're basically asking for reviews in
Yeah,
those.
any
two.
UI folks can just take up, who can approve and get it merged. That's it.
Cool. Any comments, anyone?
Wait, is there like a screenshot for it?
Yeah, there's a video in the Argo CD PR, yeah.
Inside the recording?
In that video?
Yeah, I'm playing
Yeah.
the video. Hopefully you guys can see as well. Okay, appearance, enable.
That's cool.
Nice. We can now monitor our applications without waking our family up at 12 in the night.
Good point. Cool. Thanks. Thank you. All right. Anything else? Anyone regarding the Dart team? If not, let's move forward with the last topic of the day. Zach, want to talk about SMP support for all Argo projects. Zach, want to take it from here?
Yeah, so I guess I just kind of wanted to, I kind of posted a thread in the contributors channel about this as well. And the idea is that for Argo rollouts, I've been working on getting, having the rollout spec be able to be patched by customized, like via strategic merge patches, which mainly affects lists. And talking to Jesse and other people in the community, it kind of sounds like it's going to make sense to do this for all Argo projects as a whole. And so I have a POC repo there under my own GitHub org there that basically would become a tool that generates a schema file that we can use to configure customize to know about all the Argo project types, so that customize can then properly merge arrays and things like that. So that's kind of the overall idea. I did open up a PR against, so Argo CD is the only project that doesn't have merge keys defined within the CRDs or their Golang types. And so that's what the PR is for against Argo CD. But I just kind of wanted to, I don't know, get this a little bit more out in the open, see if anybody had any thoughts, etc.
So the idea is to provide a schema so Argo related schemas can be used in Customize.
Yeah, so there's
correctly.
correct. So there's a really bad UI behavior within rollouts that not rollouts, but within Customize that lets you define an open API schema for your types, but it's only a replacement. So basically you can't do additions. And by default, they bundle a native, like all the native Kubernetes types within Customize when you just use it. So it works for all native Kubernetes objects, right? The problem is that once you have your own CRD or your own type that you want to merge, you have to override the built-in type, which then means if you were to have, say, a rollout object or an Argo CD object that you wanted to do pet strategic merging on, you would lose the ability to merge, say, deployment objects. So this basically, what this tool does is generates a schema file that contains a whole bunch of native Kubernetes types, as well as including the Argo project types.
I mean, I guess this is what you mean, right?
So yep, so that's the one that has all of them, and then I generated
Right.
ones for each individual project as well. Customize has been talking about making the open API field an addition where they will then do the merging. And there's also talks in Kubernetes upstream to allow metadata on CRDs for merge key types, merge key information. Obviously that's going to move really slow. So this is just kind of a workaround for the time being.
Oh, I see. So there is an intention from the customized folks to have that added instead of
Yeah, it's
replaced?
been sitting around for a long time. So I don't know how serious or when that's going to happen, but there's discussions going on around that.
I see.
Something at the beginning of this year, there were some comments about someone working on something. So yeah, so it's, timelines on that are probably unreliable.
If I'm not mistaken, this open API piece in the customization file is it's quite new, isn't it?
It is pretty new. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know the exact timeline, but we customized for something. So one of
Right,
the
right.
newer releases. Yeah.
Mhm. I
Can
see.
you remind me again the limitations of the CRD field in the customization then, YAML, versus the opening by I field?
The
I'll just
Oh yeah, so the CRD field, Customize also has a CRD config section that you can use to provide what's it called? Transformations, basically. So you can provide a CRD there and then not have to provide within your CRD, you can provide some extra metadata comment things tagged again that will allow it to generate basically transformation, so it knows how to find like images and things like that for those replacements. Rollouts today does that through another config option that Customize had before that. But that's kind of the difference between the two of them. There's talks about changing those and merging, in the same issue thread under Customize where they were talking about the open API field making an addition. There's going to be some changes around CRD stuff as well because it's confusing and overlapping.
Okay, so the CRD section in the customization only helps with the things like name referencing.
Yep,
but,
exactly.
But not
not
strategic merge patching.
Mergers.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So this is a proposal to have this as a workaround, if I'm not
So ideally this
correctly.
Yep. So the idea would be that like this project would live in, so we'd basically move this repo into like an Argo proj repo, right? And then all of the projects would be able to have documentation around how to use Customize with their project, and then link to the generated files in this new repo that doesn't exist yet.
I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. What would be the use case for this? And in which place would this get plugged in?
So this will work across all Argo projects. So basically Argo CD, Argo events, Argo workflows, Argo rollouts. And it's mainly a documentation / user benefit. So any users that are using Customize today, we're going to have problems using Customize's patch strategic merge, and this allows them to use strategic merge patching with Argo project types and native Kubernetes types.
Got it.
There's actually a documentation page on the rollouts docs that talks about how rollout supports Customize, but it's actually kind of incorrect because it supports it, but it only supports it if you don't need to merge any other type within your Customize application, which is unrealistic, I think.
Right. So in this case, if a user were to have Argo APIs in their Git repo, which uses Customize,
Yep.
This would enhance the semantics of it.
Yep, exactly. They wouldn't have to do Customize supports like JSON I don't remember what it is, 6904 patching or something like that, which is real fragile because you have to basically give like array indexes and things like that. And this allows those users to be able to use the patch strategic merges within Customize.
Got it. Okay. Makes sense.
I think without this, everything that is a list inside any of resource provided by Argo will be replaced. And
It's replaced. Yep.
And by defining the schema, then Customize is able to identify specific items and identify things that are added to the state and behave accordingly instead of just replacing the entire array.
List. Yep. Array. Yep.
Are we planning to integrate this to release process as well? Like for every release, are we attaching the schema also?
I didn't quite catch that, Hari. Was that?
So are we trying to integrate this as a part of release process? Generating the schema for every release?
Yeah, so how it works, all the projects would share this. These would share the output of this. It's tied, so it's a little interesting. So it's tied to API versions of each project, which shouldn't have breaking changes, right? It would be interesting to try to automate the running of this on changes to all the projects types. I don't know if that's necessary at right away, because I think types generally change relatively slow, but that is probably something that should be thought about.
Yeah, I think some projects have some APIs which barely change, and some APIs would change a lot. So,
and it's only in regards to arrays within those CRDs as well. So adding a new non-array isn't gonna provide any benefit to needing a new schema file. So, you know, I guess I don't see that as a blocker for like getting this out and communicated within documentation. But if, you know, Customize never gets their stuff together with additions, you know, and this gets annoying to have to update over and over again, I do think it probably would make sense to somehow trigger a run of this upon, you know, commits on all the projects or something like that, right? There's probably a few options there.
Yeah, this looks like a release time script that we could add somewhere. But I
agree. Yeah, probably a release related job.
Yeah.
I mean,
instead
as
of every PR. Sorry.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right. So I mean, I think as a next step, this looks like we've had a decent amount of conversation on this now, and I think that has raised some great points. Should probably have a tiny enhancement proposal, because this does go across projects to be able to what this does. And the title I came up with you in case you wanted, make Argo more customizable. But then in short, it'll be nice to explain, you know, how this is useful and where this should be plugged in the release process.
Sure. I think that's fair. I do plan on, I missed the meeting for the workflows and events contributors meeting, but next week I do plan on just kind of bringing this up over in that meeting as well, just to give them an idea of it. I don't think they really know about any of it yet. But yeah, I think having a little, I don't know where that proposal would live, maybe under Argo prod repo to an issue or something.
Yeah, I don't think we have an Argo proj related enhancement proposal process. We have Argo, we have project related proposal processes, right? They are Argo CD specific, Argo rollout specific, Argo event specific.
Yeah, this is kind of across all projects.
I mean, probably start with one, and then after that goes in, we basically use that as a precedence for others. That's how I think it might be helpful for you to have like one discussion instead of having 4 discussions in 4 separate repos with the same answers.
Yeah, that's fair. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to bring this up today, so I can do that.
Okay, thanks everybody. We're 2 minutes over. Does anybody have any other last minute topic you wanted to bring up? If not, I'm going to conclude this for today. Thank you everybody for joining, and see you next week. Bye.
Sure.
Thank you. Bye.